Guys, good morning, everyone. Kevin Edwards and I are here, and we are recording. Kevin, I think you said a how-to complete the FAFSA workaround for our Tennessee Promise applicants that still need to submit the 2021 FAFSA. First and foremost, from Kevin and I, guys, those of you who are volunteering to go out next week and do FAFSA workshops here in the Mid-State, thank you. Hopefully this will be pretty easy for you. So I think first things first, you get into a computer lab or a library or wherever the counselor has you working with the students, and you have the students to log into their laptop or their desktop. When they get logged in, one thing with FAFSA that we've noticed in the last month is when they open up the web, they should be using either Chrome or Edge. Explorer does this wonky thing now with the FAFSA site, and I've had some students to be kicked off midway while completing the FAFSA when using Internet Explorer. So if you can, ensure that the student is opening and using either Chrome or Microsoft Edge. If you happen to be one of the lucky souls that goes to a computer that has a lot of Apple products, Safari can be hit or miss sometime. Firefox can be hit or miss sometime with FAFSA. So again, ideally you're going to be at a school that's PC, and again, Edge and Chrome are the preferred browsers. So that said, I've opened up Chrome here. Where I would take them is go to FAFSA.gov. FAFSA.gov is the legit site. Let the internet go to the new URL and all that good stuff. But if they simply just type in FAFSA.gov, that's fine. I've had several counselors this week still put up on the whiteboard FAFSA.ed.gov. That's okay. That's just the old URL. It'll get to the new URL. But the quick way is, again, FAFSA, FAFSA.gov. That will get you to the right place. Once they're here at the FAFSA site, whether they click Start Here or Log In, they're going to go to the same next screen. A new tab will open, and this will allow the student to now log into the FAFSA. At this juncture, and over the past month, I would say 98% of the students that we've worked with in January, they haven't touched this FAFSA. Now, they may say, well, we have a login already. What they're confusing more than likely is they're thinking about their Tennessee Promise login. FAFSA needs its own login, okay? So generally speaking, when you get to this part of the FAFSA to log in, the student should click I am the student, and if they have not created a login for FAFSA, then they are going to click that create one right there to open the FSA ID site, where they will now create a login. This is pretty straightforward, as Kevin laughs. Right? It's pretty straightforward. I think here's what you need to know. Username. I would encourage the student, if they have an email address, to use that first half of the email address before the @ right? So if the email is jasontoddc@gmail.com, then try to use jasontoddc as the username. I guess your note for the username is it cannot contain punctuation, okay? So using our emails as an example, kevin.edwards@tn.gov, all right, Kevin couldn't put that period in between kevin.edwards for a username. The username for FSAID cannot contain punctuation. The beauty of FSAID is, thankfully, as you will see here, it lets you know if it's available or not. And some students will panic when something's not available, but guys, you got to understand, there are millions of students and parents creating these FSAIDs every year. And you'd be surprised, like for me, how many other Jason C's there are in the state of Tennessee, let alone the United States, right? But that said, if someone wanted to use Jason Todd C as their username, it is available for them to create. So there's the first tip. Again, username, no punctuation, and if you're wondering, capitalization on the username does not matter as well. Password. Password has to abide by these requirements that I just totally scribbled on. But that said, here's the thing with the password. Some students will overthink this. Whatever school I'm in, for example, I've been in Hillwood this week, I will suggest to a student, because the password cannot contain the student's name, social, or date of birth, I will suggest student, for example, Hillwood 20 with the capital H will satisfy the capital letter, the lowercase letter, the 1 number, and the 8 characters that password needs. So think where you are, whether it's the school name or county name in 20 or 2020 for grad year, that's a perfect password. Again, they don't have to use it, but yet again, it's to teach them you can't use your name, you can't use your social, you can't use your date of birth within that password. So I'm just going to do just kind of fake create something right quick here. And again, here's my suggestion of Hillwood 20 as the password, which you notice criteria met will come up once the criteria is actually met here with the password. So that's a good thing in this case. All right, so when you continue on this next screen, this is where the student will enter their first name, middle initial, last name, their date of birth, and again, I'm going to fake my date of birth, and then finally their social security number. I would always encourage them to click show text so that they see what they are typing. And so here's the thing. If they're able to get to this next screen, so we're going to hit continue, boom, warning, the information may already exist, so we may not be able to get to the next screen. Let's do something else here. Okay, let's see if it does work. Aha! Just outthink the system sometimes. So this gets us to the next screen, all right? And this is as far as we're going to go with the FSCID, but I think this is critical just to explain here, okay? So now, in order to create the FSCID for FAFSA, at the end of this process, the student will either have to verify their mobile number or their email, okay, before that FSCID can get created. I've had basically the success. I think we've experienced the same success that we have all year when helping with FAFSA. There are some students in schools that if the student enters their email and enters their mobile number at the end of this process, they'll get the text, which will contain a 6-digit number that they'll enter into a screen that will verify the mobile number, and then they get to the email and the same thing. Then they'll have to check their email for a 6-digit code in order to verify their email. I've had success, but then I've had some schools like back to Hillwood, a lot of the students I was working with the other day, they weren't getting their text. So here's something to teach everyone. FAFSA, FSCID, these buttons at the bottom of the screen, previous and continue, those are your magic buttons. So let's say you get to the end of the FSCID creation process and the student is waiting on a text message, and it's been 5 minutes and a text has not come through. If you have the student to scroll down to the bottom of that screen, and in this case, click the previous button where they can get back to this particular screen, this is where they could then, if the text is not coming through, they could remove the text and uncheck the text message box. And then once they remove their mobile number and their text, the check to authorize the text message to come through, click continue, and then that will go straight to the email, which they hopefully can verify. And that has worked this week where at least the emails have come through. Okay, so guys, there's some, can I say, gamesmanship there in terms of outthink this FAFSA, right? The other thing, as an example, I've had some text come through, no problem. They verified the mobile number. But then they get to the email, and the student will go, oh, I can't log into my email. I forgot my password. Guys, then in that case, same logic. If they're able to verify their text, but they can't get into the email, yet again, use the previous to get back to this screen, and you would remove the email address, and then once removed, you can click continue, and that would then create that FAFSA ID. Guys, just heads up, after this screen is when the student will answer 4 challenge questions. And then after that screen, they'll agree to a statement which will finally bring them to the verifying of the text and the emails and stuff like that. So again, do this first with the student ideally, and then once this is created, then they can return to FAFSA, all right, and log in with whatever they've created here, okay? Now, because I don't have, and I'm doing this on a live site as opposed to the demo site, just because the demo site has been glitchy for me in the last day or two, I'm actually going to log in using, and this is an option, where you can use the student's first name, last name, again, their social, and I'm just going to type in a random social here, and then a date of birth, okay? And again, if they ideally they're logging in with their username and password, their mobile number, their password, their email and password, or whatever. Once they're logged in, they'll click accept to that message, and now make sure we're going to do the 2021 FAFSA, right? That's the FAFSA that we're here to do. If you're in a room where there's a whiteboard, 2 things you might want to write down. That website, www.fafsa.gov. You might even want to write down, be sure to use Chrome or Edge. And the third thing you might want to write down or have the counselor write down is be sure you're doing the 2021 FAFSA, because, again, that's what they need to do, these high school seniors, in order to satisfy their Tennessee Promise requirements. So once they click Start 2021 FAFSA, they now need to enter a save key. Do not overthink this. This is, let the student know, enter a 4-digit number they can remember, right? So something as simple as 1234, 1234, that will suffice. Click Next. Then they'll land on, here in a second, the introduction page. This has been happening all week, probably because there's a surge of people trying to meet deadlines, or FAFSA seems to be a little bit slower. Once they get the intro page, click Next. Now they're finally in the FAFSA. Again, we're doing the FAFSA workaround. So let me now teach you how to do the FAFSA workaround, because ideally, whatever school you're going to, ideally they're going to be bringing out hopefully like 20 kids at a time, or per period, per block, for you to just get this FAFSA knocked out this way. This screen, they're just reviewing their information. Social, first name, last name, date of birth. I don't mean to say I don't care, but whether they enter their middle initial here or not, it's okay. I mean, they can do whatever they want to, all right? So once they click Next, now it's time, enter their email address or mobile number. Again, enter, if they have an email, they have their telephone number, whether it's their landline or their cell phone. Again, doesn't really matter. In actuality, guys, these 2 questions on the FAFSA, you can actually skip, which we're going to do for us. FAFSA will give you like a message, are you sure you want to skip this? Again, to me, they should enter an email, right, because that's how they'll get the confirmation page. But if for some reason they don't have an email, for example, they could actually skip this here. But for our purposes, hey, let's play along. Let's just for now go my email address, just to get this going, and then we'll skip the phone number. All right, permanent address. So let's just put in a permanent address. Again, where they live. So there's the address on this screen. Next screen will ask, have you lived in Tennessee for 5 years? I'd say the majority of students we work with, the answer is yes. Then we get to the citizenship question. majority of students we work with will be, yes, I'm a citizen. They'll click next. For those that are a green card holder, understand they will then be asked for their alien registration number. On the green card, this is the USCIS number, folks, okay? So if they are a permanent resident, they'll have to enter their alien registration number, which again is the USCIS number found on their green card. Kevin, I've had a couple students this week that we've been doing workaround and they haven't had their green card. Guys, because we're doing a workaround and because ultimately we're going to have to correct this and add their parents' information, if they've been unable, if they didn't have their green card on them, or if they texted their brother, sister, mom, dad, and they didn't hear anything back at the time we were doing this, I was actually okay with them for this purpose to say I am a citizen, just so they can bypass the alien registration number question. Guys, that's just, yet again, a workaround that I've just learned over time, because here's the thing. If you go no and you leave that alien registration number blank, in the past, FAFSA has not allowed me to advance. So the workaround there is you could put yes, I am, and then again, when they go back in to make a correction on down the line, they can then answer this question accordingly. One other thing on the screen, let's go back to the residency question. Let's say a student just has moved here in the last, within the last 5 years, so they haven't been here longer than 5 years. So if they indicate no, if they live here, then their residence is Tennessee, period. All right? I don't get caught up in the whole, quote, word legal. If they live here, they're Tennessean to me. If they're going to high school here, they're Tennessean to me. Leave that Tennessee. So then FAFSA goes, all right, well, did you become a resident of Tennessee before January 1st, 2015? Again, if they moved here after January 1st of 2015, say no, and then enter the month and year that they moved here. So if I moved here January of 2018, then type 01-2018. That's how they need to do this. Again, I would not get caught up in the word legal there. Some people do. I would say do not get caught up in the word legal there. All right, on the next screen. Question. What will your high school completion status be? They'll select high school diploma because this is what they'll have, ideally, as they be in college in the fall. What degree or certificate will you be working on? Again, we all know this. It's either an associate, a certificate, or a first bachelor's. If a student looks at you and says, I don't know, guys, it's okay. Just click first bachelor's. Let's move on. Next question. If you actually respond first bachelor's degree, the next question will then be answered for you. Will you have your first bachelor's degree before you begin the 2021 academic year? No, you will not. Next question, what will your college grade level be? Whether they dual enrolled, whether they earn AP, IB credit, they have never attended college from a FAFSA perspective. Last question, are you interested in being considered for work study? Yes. Work study, as we all know, you can work on a college campus, get a paycheck, beautiful. By saying yes, this gives them that option, all right? Guys, there may be questions that fly through these screens, but this is just, again, an illustration to you as what they will be encountering. I'm one. Kevin's done this with me before. I think we're kind of say somewhat hands off, where if we're in a lab, we just kind of float around the room. If a student has a question, they'll raise their hand. So just, introduce yourself. Say, hey, my name is Kevin. My name is Jason. And if you have any questions as you go through this, please let me know. But again, this is an illustration for what they're going to encounter. Next screen. Are you male or female? So female, easy. You click next. If you are male, then you get the selective service question. And this is where you may have some students, males, that will ask you the question, what is selective service? As we know, in this country, as a male, selective service is, quote-unquote, the Army draft, or this is how I present it. This is if this country had an Army draft. As a male, when you turn 18, per law, or at least, again, this is what I say, you have to register with selective service. Most students, honestly, don't even know what selective service is, so more than likely they haven't registered, so they'll select no to that first question about have you registered, and then the next question will be, do you want FAFSA to register you? This is where I would encourage them, yes, because I think this is important, and Kevin, you said this before we began. for that male student to eventually get any financial aid, Promise, Hope, Pell, student loans, they've got to register Selective Service, at the time they turn 18. So if for some reason they haven't done it, that college will withhold their financial aid until that's been done. So this is where FAFSA will do it. So if that student is 16 or 17, I don't care. Just go ahead and put yes, and that way FAFSA will register them. I think it's 30 days prior to their 18th birthday. If they're already 18, yet again, FAFSA will register them right away. And so I would encourage for our males, first question, again, unless they say, yes, I have registered already, my presumption is you're going to answer no to the first question and yes to have FAFSA register you. But guys, understand that's up to them. Just let them know if they choose to answer no here. They just need to understand. Then it's on them to get it done when they turn 18 before any aid is dispersed. Next screen asks for the driver's license. Guys, if they have it, enter it. If they don't have it, this is a skippable screen. All right. Next question: are you in foster youth? Okay, yes or no. So assuming no, the next two questions: what's the highest school completion of parent 1, parent 2? In this case, this is actually talking about their biological parents. These two questions are also skippable. Okay, so if they don't want to answer them, they don't have to. They can be skipped, as you're going to watch me here. Skip them. All right. Next screen. This is asking for their high school information. So, for example, less is more oftentimes. So when I was at Hillwood the other day, if they simply type Hillwood, if they then tab down to what state is your high school in and select Tennessee and then click search, then they can select Hillwood High from the list and click next. Now they can also text all that, type all that in, and they can choose not to hit the search button, just click next. It's okay. But for me, less is more. First part of the name, like Hillwood, select Tennessee, and then hit search, and then select it, and then FAFSA will pre-fill everything in for you. That's my tip. Then we get to the college screen, where this is where students, this is where you want to FAFSA to be sent to. Guys, you're going to encounter some students at this point in time that they're doing this because they're being made to do this. I respect that. I've had some conversations this week for students and on this screen specifically, because some of the students, they'll get to the screen and they'll want to re-enter their high school. That'll be what they'll try to do on the screen. But again, this screen is, Kevin, I love the new annotation tool that you showed me. Just notice at the top, search for colleges. So this should tell you this is where they're searching the colleges they want to send. So some of the conversations I've had this week when we get to the screen, I've looked at a male and I've looked at a female and I've just asked. I said, listen, are you considering college? And I've had some great conversations where a student just has looked at me and says, no, sir, I really am not. I was like, you know what? I respect that. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to put in one college just to get this thing submitted so that if you change your mind in the weeks and months to come, you're at least still eligible as of now for Tennessee Promise, right? And so for those students specifically that you choose to have that conversation with, similar to the high school screen, less is more. Select a state, and let's say the student is considering or not considering anything, and you're in Nashville, so let's at least put Nashville State, all right? So if you will, select Tennessee, encourage the student to skip down a school name, type in Nashville State, click search, boom, there's Nashville State Community College. Check the box that adds Nashville State to the FAFSA, and then they'll click next to move on. At this juncture, for those students that do want to send their FAFSA to more than one school, they can click add more schools, and they'll just go back to the same search screen and do the same thing again, okay? They can list up to 10 at a time. Again, at this juncture, I have not encountered any student that wanted to list that many. I will say in the fall, we do encounter students that are saying, hey, Kevin, I'm thinking of 16 different schools. At this juncture, guys, I'd be shocked if you encounter someone like that. And also encourage them so they're not spinning their wheels. They can always return to FAFSA later and add schools later. So we're going to move on to national state. On this screen, housing plans, not a make or break answer. They have to select something. It's a community college in this case. I'm going to assume they're going to live with their parents, so we're going to move on. All right, now we get into the dependency screens, and this is where the workaround takes place. And Kevin and I are going to send out the PDF of the two-pager that I've used to capture these screenshots as well, at least the ones forthcoming. First question, again, this is student, all right? This is about the student. First question on this screen, what is the student's marital status? I'm going to assume single. Next screen, two questions. First one, does the student have any children? I'm assuming no. Next question, does the student have like any nieces, nephews, cousins that they financially support? Yet again, I'm going to assume no. Now again, you may have a student that can answer like the I have a child question, yes. If you do, let them roll with it, right? Assuming the answer is no, move on. This next question. These are your checkbox questions. So the first two questions are all about the Army. Is the student, actively serving as of today? Second question is, are they a veteran? I'm assuming they're high school students. They're not, so they're not going to check these two boxes. Third question, at any time since the student turned 13, were both parents deceased? Again, that is, were both parents deceased, or was the student in foster care? Again, you might have a student that's able to check that one, all right? If they're able to check one of these, that makes the student independent, which means only their information is needed on the FAFSA. Last two questions. As determined by court, are you an emancipated minor? And the final one, does someone other than your mom have legal guardianship of you, like a grandparent, aunt, or an uncle? Again, you might have some students answer, I'm going to circle this question or this question is my assumption. Some might. If there are, that makes them independent where they only count themselves. But for the majority of these students, they're going to click none of the above, and then they're going to click next, which the final question, are you homeless or at risk of being homeless on or after July 1st of 2019? You might have one or two here that can answer yes again here, which would make them independent, but majority will be no. So at this point, FAFSA will now say, based on all these no's or none of the aboves, we need parents' information. This is where the workaround begins. For these students we're working with, assuming they have not brought their parents' information or their tax information. I have had a couple that have, and we've been able to work with those. But assuming they haven't, this is where they're going to click I'm unable to provide. And for the purposes of this recording and webinar, I'm here to teach. I'm not here to, if you want to read this, you can, but this is the workaround. This next screen, they just need to click next. Don't read it, just click next. And in this screen, this is your special circumstance screen. I would have them click the I do not have a special circumstance radio button, the third one here, and click next. Some students, and it's funny, where I've kind of helped a lot of students navigate these screens, they haven't read anything, but some of them that are a little bit more, I want to read this, some of them will read, you're only going to be considered for an unsubsidized loan, blah, blah. That's all true. But again, guys, this is correctable. And so what we need to teach the student is today, the idea of doing the workaround is so that we're able to skip the parents' information today so that we can submit the FAFSA to satisfy February 1st. Thereafter, they can go back and add parent information a week, a month from now, and then they'll still be eligible for everything under the sun. But today, just to get them to remain eligible promise, this allows us to skip the parent section of the FAFSA. So the student, have they filed taxes? And bless their hearts, because this is asking for 2018 income, some of them can't remember that far back. And, yet again, some of them that says, well, Mr. Jason, yes, I did, then they can go, all right, already completed, IRS 1040, single, and then they can try to use the data retrieval tool so that they can maybe find and transfer their tax information. But because many of them don't, I think, understand tax information, if they try, if this doesn't work, then I'm cool, again, as of today, rolling with selecting not going to file for 2018, clicking next. For the income earned from work question, they're like, well, Jason, I think I worked maybe in 3 months in 2018. Again, they can correct that later. So I'm okay with them putting 0 and moving on, again, unless they're able to transfer their tax information. Next screen, these are going to be questions that are not going to apply to these students, asking if the student, in this case, paid child support, and some other questions. Not going to apply, already zeroed in the answer, so they can click next to move past these questions. Same thing here. These are questions if generally that an older student might have to answer, but for our 16, 17, 18-year-olds, these are not going to apply as well. Click next, which will bring us to the asset questions. Again, to get this done, I would say to the student, listen, I'm going to assume if you do have a checking or savings account, there's not a lot of money in there. And even if there's $150 in there today, there may be $2 in there tomorrow. I'm okay with them as of day going 0, 0, 0 to again, answer those questions and move on. And here's where we're at the end of the FAFSA. Are you a preparer? No. A preparer is someone who charges the family to do the FAFSA. So no one's a preparer here. They'll click next. This is where they can review their information, assuming everything looks good. And again, some will not review this. Some may want you to review this. If you're reviewing this, the section of this that I would just double check is honestly this section right here, and specifically the what degree are they pursuing and what their college grade level is. This is where for some students you'll see where for a degree they may say I'm pursuing a professional degree, and for what year of college they're in, some will say a fourth-year senior or a graduate student. I love it. And some of them will say, like, I thought they're asking me, like, what our aspirations are, which is great that they're thinking that way. But for FAFSA purposes, again, degree, first bachelor's, associate's, or certificate, for student grade level, never attended is what they should to respond. If you see that these answers are the graduate student, or they can simply click on the hyperlink, all right? That will take them back to this screen where they can change this answer. And then once they've changed it, then you can click sign and submit, which will take them back to the prepare screen and then back to the review screen, all right? Assuming that's all good, they'll click next. This is where they'll agree to the best of their knowledge this information is accurate. Click next. Assuming they logged in with their username and password, this is where they'll simply click the sign this FAFSA to sign electronically. And then once they click sign this FAFSA, they'll click next to proceed. And then on the very next screen, there will be a blue button like this one that will say submit my FAFSA now. That's what they're supposed to submit. And then they should get the confirmation screen that says you've successfully submitted the 2021 FAFSA. That's just the thing I would say. You focus your eyes, make sure they did the 2021 FAFSA. Kevin, more than likely they're going to see that error message pop up that says FAFSA on the web has encountered an error. We've been dealing with that all season. Again, as long as you see behind that error message 2021 FAFSA successfully submitted, or if you ask them to check their email, as long as you see a confirmation page that says 2021 FAFSA, they are good to go. All right. I think as we wrap up here, as we talk about the 2021 FAFSA, during the FAFSA process, if by chance you see a screen that says ask about their 2017 income, that's obviously a tip-off that they selected the wrong FAFSA. So again, as a reminder, 2021 FAFSA, that may be something you want to either have the counselor project or you project, meaning like, hey guys, my name is Jason. I'm here to help you with FAFSA. Again, if you will, when you log into your computer, open up Chrome or Edge, go to this website pointing to the whiteboard if there is a whiteboard, or say it, FAFSA.gov, FAFSA.gov, and then make sure, teach them you're doing the 2021 FAFSA. You're doing the 2021 FAFSA, and kind of just make sure you preach that. As they wrap up and as they finish and stuff, make sure you let them know that, hey, by submitting it this way, you have satisfied the February 1st deadline. It's going to take 3 days for this FAFSA to process. Therefore, you may still get a text or email, whether it's from Tennessee Achieves, whether it's from TSAC, that indicates your FAFSA's, we don't have your FAFSA yet. And that's because it takes 3 days to process. And generally by that 4th or 5th day, that's when TSAC downloads it into eGrant. So kind of give them a heads up of that. And then I guess the final thing is, remind them that, some point in February, March, that's when they'll need to go back into their FAFSA and add parents' information. Obviously, guys, my team, the Advise team, the Gear Up teams, depending on what school you're at, we'll be helping those students that submitted this way with this throughout the spring and even into the summer. But let them know that if they need help, let their counselor know, and then they can get in contact with whether it's their outreach specialist or obviously if you're at an Advise or Gear Up school, they'll be able to help you there. So hopefully if you are watching this, listening to this, hopefully this is a helpful refresher. Kevin, you got anything as we conclude?
Yeah, just to make it abundantly clear that students cannot receive their financial aid, their dollars, their money, without fully satisfying the FAFSA by using parent information.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
We know that this is a necessary evil, for lack of a better word.
Yep.
But we are here to support at the back end as you go through that verification process. But thank you for serving our students.
Yeah, and excellent point. Kevin, thank you for you setting this webinar up just so we can record it. Unfortunately, I didn't really have time to do a live stuff, and then too, because of AWS, this perhaps is most beneficial anyways. That way you can listen to this and watch this between now and whenever your workshop is next week. And as Kevin said, thank you for volunteering and serving our students here in Tennessee. Guys, take care. And again, you'll see this later in the email from Kevin or myself. Have a great day.